Well, hello. Your old pal Stevie Coyle here, Mighty Fine Guitars, Friday Noontime Webcast, Lafayette, California, etc., etc., ... ellipsis. Come on in. Got a couple of Martins to show you today. If you're watching live, it's noon Pacific Daylight Time on Friday the somethingth, the 11th, August 11th. And the guitars I have to show you today, boys and girls, are a 1967 Martin D-28 and a 1965 Martin 0018. Both lovely guitars, full of that Martin-y goodness. So by all means, come on in while I check and make sure things are happening here the way they ought to, as I usually do. Yep. Looks like something's happening. Yes, indeed. Great. Come on in, all four of you. There you are. Mash on in, plenty of room. Come on down front. I don't do the watermelon trick anymore, so don't worry about that. Let's get right to it. Let me play you some of this 0018. This just came in. Barely played it, but I thought, wow, it's really nice. And you know, not a lot of us fit around our old dreadnoughts like we used to. For a size comparison, let's do that first. Here's a 00. Martin sizes you might already know. Dreadnoughts are the big ones. There are quadruple O's and M's, but you don't see them too often. So standard, kind of the standard issue Martins are dreadnoughts, big, real big, like this, not unlike this. 1967 D. Big, wow. Wow. Big across the lower bout. More importantly, perhaps, big across the waist. So the guitar gets pushed up in your lap pretty hard, and it's kind of like this, which is tough when you're sitting on the couch trying to watch Netflix or sports or something. A little tough to wrap around dreadnought the way you used to, and perhaps your girth has increased. Did I phrase that delicately enough? As happens to all of us, somehow gravity sets in. Gravity is no longer our friend and settles things towards the middle and lower and nether regions, towards more picturesque speech. Get back to this. So size-wise, here's a dreadnought. Triple O would be kind of in between this and dreadnought. This is a 00. Much more couch-friendly. Good heavens. What a friendly guitar. This is an 18. You probably know, again, the Martin designations are Dreadnought, D for Dreadnought, named after the largest ship in the British Navy. I'm not sure why they did that, but there it is. Dreadnought. Fears nothing. Big-ass guitar. BAG. Then things kind of go quadruple O, like I said, also known as various points in Martin lineage as the M series, M36 and M38. Your McCalkinen guitar. Then there's triple O's and OMs that are about the same size, but smaller than a dreadnought. Smaller than triple O's and OMs, which are the same body size, are the 00s. And I have to say, I'm partial to 00s. My alpha guitar is essentially a 00 size guitar, about the size of a classical guitar. But so you've got that kind of range of comfort. Narrow waist, sits low on the lap, certainly narrower than a dreadnought across the lower bout. Both of these, being from the 60s, apparently guitars from the 60s are vintage. I think guitars from the 80s are considered vintage. That ain't right. But there it is. Both vintage guitars. And even though there's a much wider range of what Martin builds these days, there's lots of crossover in specifications. Back then, you could pretty much count on a dreadnought being narrow at the fingerboard, 1 11/16. This 00 is also narrow at the fingerboard, 1 11/16. Although you can find 1 3/4. It's a 1/16 of an inch difference, but your hand really feels it. Left hand really feels it. Even the string spacing over here you can really feel. It'll take you a second to get adjusted from one size to another. Unless you're Richard Smith, who played here at my shop years ago and said, "Hey, Stevie, I got a great idea. Why don't you bring up 6 guitars each set, and I'll just play them, demo them for you." Sure, Richard. No crossover time, played every guitar beautifully. Fantastic, unbelievable. Most of us mere mortals, however, will find that we need a moment to shift from 1 11/16 to the wider fingerboard. Like I say, even though it's 1/16 of an inch difference at the nut. This is going to sit somewhere. Like I said, it just came in. We haven't priced it yet, but I'm looking at comps online, and I'll go to the Vintage Guide and the various places where people go to see what these things are selling for these days. Martins are going up every year. I should have looked. In fact, I will. I'll post this in the thread down below. Most Martins between last year's Vintage Guide and this year's Vintage Guide went up about $1,000. Value, value, value for your purchasing dollar. Resale value is huge on Martins, and still in a shop like this where there's lots and lots of small builders, it's the golden age of guitar building, kids. Even these days, a lot of people come in and say, "Got any Martins?" It's a reference point for us, for so many of us, myself included. My first good guitar was a D-28. Now this is an 18 model. Talked about the D's and the O's and all that stuff. The number that follows tells you what the woods are made of. Typically, most hugely, mostly frequently, an 18 is going to be mahogany back and sides and a spruce top, like this one, not unlike this one. A 28, on the other hand, now this is a D-28, so it's a much bigger guitar, dreadnought body, and the 28 designation means that it's got rosewood back and sides. Most of you already probably know this. This is for the folks that are just stopping by, and welcome. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Wrong format. Wow. Now this is what the Dreadnought is designed for. It's just what you're hearing here. I hope you're hearing it. Bass and volume. I said bass and volume. And this one kind of got dropped off as well. Don't have all the details on it, but it plays great. It was strung up really heavy. The gentleman that has custody of it at the moment plays lots of alternate tunings with really dropped tunings. So it was strung kind of crazy. It had like a 60-something or other on the bottom here and a 14 or 15 on the top here. Heavy, because it was tuned way down. It sounded great in that tuning as well. But I put some lights on here, just because a lot of people, even on a Dreadnought, now the bluegrass folks, you folks are heavy strummers, are going to want to try medium strings on this, and it'll sound fantastic with mediums. But for the moment, in a shop like this, just so everybody can play it, trying to be woke about it and inclusive. Hate that. Light gauge strings, standard light gauge strings, 12 to 53, or 54 on, this set is 53. And this one probably wants a little flat pick action. There's one. Recently restrung too, forgive me for the tunage. It's a dreadnought. There's nothing like a dreadnought. For good and bad, there's nothing like a dreadnought. Oh, let me see who's here and make sure that the sounds are going out. All of that. Don't do that. What if you suddenly sneezed or took in a big breath and choked on your pick? Don't do that, kids. Don't do what your Uncle Stevie just did. Swiping left to reveal comments. Hi, Cindy. Hi, David Martin. Hi, Mark Baranki. Yeah, it's got some volume to it. Oh, yeah. Hey there, Robert B. Gunderson from the West Bay. Welcome again. Jeff Russell, nice to see you all. Good, good. David Hilliard, right on. Playing the observatory this weekend. It's great. Just so you know, folks, those of you in the Bay Area, I think we're sold out. But if you can catch any of the shows that happen, and believe it or not, there are great concerts that happen at the James Lick Observatory on Mount Hamilton in San Jose. Fantastic. Like I say, I think we're sold out, but we're going to have a fantastic time tomorrow. Snacks at 7 o'clock, music from 8 o'clock, 2 sets till 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, there's an astrophysics lecture on something cool. It always is. I've done this thing a few times. Then afterwards and during, there are viewings through the 2 giant telescopes up there. And if we're lucky, if the skies are clear, after midnight or so, the Perseids will be coming out. There'll be lots of amateur astronomers up there with their telescopes. But this is going to be naked eye stuff. We're not going to be able to telescope the meteor showers. But with any luck, we'll be able to see all that stuff. So cool. All right. Any comments or questions, fire away. Don't exactly have a price. I'll answer the one I know you're asking. The dreadnought here, somewhere, not sure, because I don't have the provenance on it. I don't know exactly what's been done to it. I know the pickguard has been replaced, and I think there's a new bridge on here. So I'm guessing somewhere in the high 8s, 9-ish for this. Just make my toe shoot up in my boot, as they say. Of course, you don't have to strum a dreadnought. You don't have to finger pick a double O. You can play any kind of music on any guitar. Reverend Gary Davis did fine with the dreadnought, playing fingerstyle. Yes, he did. Amen and hallelujah. And smaller guitars can handle great strumming, but it's kind of what they're maximized for. This is at the extreme end of big and loud. It's not exactly. I'll show you a guitar next week that's bigger and louder, believe it or not. A Klein came in, one of those 45.7s, 18 inches across the lower bout. Huge sound, gorgeous, gorgeous Brazilian rosewood. I'll show you that again. So, for a sound comparison, and you're only going to notice this if you switch guitars in the middle of a set or something, The ear will reset itself to hear bass notes as low and and high notes as trebly. So if you're contextualized by a band where other instruments are playing at the same time you are, you'll hear the size difference in strumming or picking of a given guitar. Otherwise, if you're playing by yourself, get the one that's comfy. It's the first consideration I always recommend to people when they come into the shop to say, my hair's on fire. I don't know where to start. They're running out the door. Wait a minute, come back. play the one that looks comfortable. Behind me here is the wall of smaller guitars, double O's and smaller. Over here, I'll show you sometime, is the triple O and OM wall. Back in the corner here, these two walls are kind of the big-ass guitars, the dreadnoughts and the jumbos. Over there on the carousel and on the floor are guitars that just didn't fit elsewhere. Don't have enough wall space to show every kind of every guitar. I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's ridiculous to describe a Martin guitar as sounding Martin-y. But these do. They have that thing that happens regardless of the size of the guitar. There's something happens in the low mid-range, I think. This kind of bloom, this kind of lovely washy thing that happens that kind of spreads out into the lower realms and the upper realms and kind of ties everything together and makes it sound like a Martin. Fun to play with a flat pick, but you can finger pick the daylights out of it. I'll do a little finger picking on both guitars too and wind things up. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Stay tuned to the channel for most Fridays. I try and do a little thing at noon. Just if you see something on the website which is almost all completely updated, check out the news section on the website, mightyfineguitarist.com. Some fabulous new stuff has gone up there. Almost got the whole thing updated. If there's anything you would like to see in particular, shoot me a little note on Facebook here in Messenger or email Stevie@mightyfineguitarist.com. Let me know what you'd like to see, what you'd like to see featured. It's not every week that I have new guitars to show you. I happen to have two this week. Although I probably got two next week as well. A Larrivee just came in, and this one. That's right. And a Larrivee came in. Sitting here minding my own business. Guy walks in and I got a Larrivee and Martin for you to sell. Okay. That's the sound I made. Okay. Let's try that on the big boy, shall we? Let's go to the big board, Dave. Okay, Stevie, here we go. Martin D-28, 1967. Brazilian rosewood, I should mention. 28 designations mean rosewood back and sides. If it's in the late 60s, before we get up into the real late 60s and early 70s, Brazilian rosewood, which has a sound to it. Sorry, kids. I wish it didn't, but it does. It has a sound to it. And Brazilian rosewood guitars are highly prized these days, more and more so because Brazilian rosewood is becoming more and more dear, costly-wise, and ecologically. So if a guitar that's already made up in Brazilian is totally fair game in my book. But it's good that they're being protected. Are you hearing that? Whoa. Oh me, oh my, oh Mr. 13th child a mother leads. He's come back and he's looking for something, wondering what the Jersey Devil needs. Hold that thought. It'll sound smaller, but cool. Take that peach pie off of your sill. The Jersey Devil's got a sweet tooth on him, never been known to get his fill. And I thought I saw that Jersey Devil up the road and around the bend. I thought I saw that Jersey Devil dancing in his moccasins. Both delightful. They do different things. They're both a delight to play. They're set up really nicely. The action is easy and fun, and got light gauge strings on both of them. So come on in and play them, kids. Mighty Fine Guitars is located at 85 Lafayette Circle in Lafayette, California, in the San Francisco East Bay, through the tunnel. It's through that tunnel, the Caldecott Tunnel, which has 4 bores now. Instead of 3, it's much easier to get through. It's much faster to get to and from the bowl of the Bay Area. So come on down to Crazy Stevie's Guitar Emporium here at Mighty Fine Guitars. Let me check and see if there are any questions. If you have questions subsequently, feel free to post them down below. I'll get to them pronto as soon as possible. If you'd like to pass these little Friday noontime webcasts along to anybody, feel free to share. Hit the little share button and send them over to your pals or to your own page. That'd be totally cool. Totally. It is required to play Blister in the Sun. Yes, thank you. I think I fulfilled my obligation there. Thank you, David Martin. Precisely right. Hi, Ron Peters. Hey, there's my roommate from CCMC, from California Coast Music Camp. That was a gas. Hi, Mark Moreland. Minx Pinkley. Hello, Minx. Nice to see you. And Mark David Hamilton. Very good. All the way from North Carolina. Mike Tatarakis. Mark, remember you dropping your D? That's right. Now we're talking. Mark Bronke likes the drop D as well. I do too, truth be told, especially on a big bad boy like that. Tell you what. All right then. Oh, Jeff, I'm so glad you like your dread. Terrific. Very good. Hi, Roger. I think you had a birthday or something recently. Saw you online. So whenever it was, whenever it's going to be, happy birthday to each and every one of you. To you and you and you and you and you. Stevie Coyle here, signing off from the Friday Noontime webcast. I'm sure I went over my 15-minute limit, but Irish background. Take it from there. Great to see you. See you next week with something new and exciting. I'll certainly be featuring the Larrivee LV9 that came in. Lovely cutaway guitar. My Alpha stage guitar. The stage guitar I play is by a fellow named Ted Thompson. May he rest in peace. He died recently. One of those Larrivee guys that started off at Larrivee, who still makes great guitars, and this one's kind of on the upscale end of things. I'll feature that next week and whatever else comes in. So stay tuned. I'll see you next Friday at noon for the Friday Noontime webcast. Thanks for tuning in. Send your questions down below. Get to them pronto. Down the road, everybody.